Hey, what y'all know about that? What y'all know about that? The love of money is the root of all evil. But this morning, we ain't talking about loving no money. We talking about therapy access for certified peer support specialists. So, before I go in, it is Change Agent Cooper. Make sure you like this channel, subscribe to this channel, click the bell for notifications so that you can be alerted when I'm putting this content out. I got a lot to say and I'm going to say it. I got a lot of experience, strength, and hope, and I'm going to share it. For me not to, that would be blasphemy. So, yesterday, praise God for my, my role as, doing clergy with Elevation Church Asheville, do the jail ministry. I'm going to also start doing some prison ministry, volunteering with the Forgiving Ministry. Shout out to Scotty Barnes and the One Day with God team. If that's something that you or anybody at your church want to get involved in, holla at your boy. It's not hard to find me. My email has changed. It's Coop, C-O-O-P, at operationgateway.org. If you want to get involved in that prison ministry with Forgiving Ministries in 2023, holla at your boy. But this morning, like I say, man, I'm talking about therapy access for peer support specialists. And what led to this, I was doing my clergy visit yesterday, went to visit a young black male, former certified peer support specialist in the field. I know him. I remember when he first came into the field. At the time, our relationship was a bit different. I was even his sponsor, right? I was his sponsor. Some of y'all 12-step folks might be familiar with that, are familiar with that vernacular. But anyway, I went to visit him, and it was a blessing, because service workers, it doesn't just help the person that you visited, it also helps your spirit, because when the spiritual principle of the 12-step is service. But this ain't a 12-step video. This is talking about therapy access for peer supports. So when I seen him and I look him in the eyes, he just had a lot of life in him, and I could just see, he's at peace. Talk about the books he's been reading and just his goals and everything. And he's about to get sent off to prison. He's probably got maybe about 8-9 months that he's gonna have to do in prison after sitting in the jail waiting on a plea. But I remember when he had just came into the field, and this was to be honest with y'all, like that's when I first started popping off talking about needing therapists for certified peer support specialists, was because of him. It was really, really because of him, because like with me having connections in the workforce development space and everything, as well as being a behavioral health guy, as well as being from this community, I know everybody and their mama. And so I got connections, That's one of the blessings. And so when he was working at the peer support job he was working at, he had a year, of sobriety and everything, but like he was being exposed to some things, bro. Like he was being exposed to some things that he shouldn't have been exposed to, but anyway, there are some organizations that have, peer supports, in spaces to where they're very close to people who are actively using still, and there's a lot of temptation there, especially for folks that may have used intravenously. You dig what I'm saying? IV users, being around IV users and stuff like that, but some folks, they say, it doesn't bother them, but I've heard from a significant amount of people that say, that scope of work, being so close to people who are using, wasn't fulfilling employment-wise, nor was it, conducive to their recovery. And so for this young man, I know for a fact it wasn't, because he crashed out. He crashed out. And so, but I remember when he was working that job, when he was telling me some of the things he was seeing and how he's feeling, one of the main things I did was I was like, bro, I want to get you access to a therapist, because like, it's one thing to have somebody taking you through 12 steps, but it's another thing to have somebody that's able to, walk with you down those dark valleys that you might have to go through inside your mind. You dig? Sometimes surviving the mind is the hardest thing that we got to do, and we need a professional to do it. I love Jesus and my therapist. Shout out to my man Bobby Harrington for getting me hooked up with a therapist. I'm very grateful for that. Bobby Harrington doing some great work on the eastern side of the state. But I remember when I had got bruh connected with a therapist, and he was so grateful at that time. And it was at that time that I started hearing from other people who was working with a similar scope of work, You know what I'm saying? And they was coming back talking to me, because a lot of people come and they talk to me because, you know, I'm one of the people that's been around for a hot minute as it relates to certified peer support specialists. I'm not the originator of certified peer support specialists, but I am a person who did ensure that certified peer support specialists was properly compensated and made sure that we was honored in spaces where we didn't have representation. And so a lot of people that's from around here, they know that, so they come to me and they come to me to vent, or they come to me for advice or for help, and I'm there for it. You dig? I want to be like my predecessors was for me, you know what I'm saying, being able to distribute that wisdom, right? It ain't just for me to keep to myself. You know, like I say in every video, I got a lot of experience, strength, and hope, and I'm gonna share it. For me not to share it would be blasphemy. And so people started coming to me more and more, and they're talking about the stuff they was experiencing in that scope of work. And so I start, you know, mentioning the therapy piece, and more people was interested. And it was at that time I started hollering at a funder that I have a good relationship with that prioritized substance use disorder services. And I started telling them, like, look, man, all these organizations that's starting this peer support stuff and putting peer support in harm's way without the appropriate level of support ain't it. You know what I'm saying? Because having peer support groups is cool and everything, but man, some peer supports they out there on the front lines around stuff that I ain't even in. I'm not even in agreement with. You dig what I'm saying? Like, they seeing stuff they ain't got no business seeing it, and it's taking a toll on them. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm like, if we gonna keep on putting these people in those positions, we gonna keep having these positions so close to people that's using and people that's dying and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? We need to make sure they got the appropriate level of support if these organizations gonna keep creating and putting them out there like that. So it was at that point in time I started advocating for having therapists available for peer supports. And so I'm putting this video out now. Come one, come all. You know what I'm saying? I want everybody to know, listen, I am demanding that if we are going to continue to prioritize putting certified peer support specialists in early recovery on the front lines, then we need to make sure that they have access to therapy. For us not to would be inappropriate and unethical. I know peer supports who have died while they was working in the field and using. Didn't have the level of support, nobody to talk to. They didn't have nobody they feel like they could open up to for whatever reason. So if we're going to continue to put these peer supports in harm's way, why don't we make sure that they got the mental support that they need, the spiritual support that they need, and it need to come from a professional. Because from what I'm hearing, the feedback that I'm hearing from the peer supports, they need it bad, yo. Like yesterday, sense of as one of my mentors taught me, you have to have the sense of urgency before the emergency. I'm gonna say it one more time. You have to have the sense of urgency before the emergency. And so we got to keep that energy, y'all. And as it relates to certified peer support specialists, I'm going to put a link in the description of this video so that you can go and you can see, like, I'm in North Carolina, so we have a governing body here, the UNC Peer Support Springboard. You know, and if you want to dig in, you can do credential verifications and some different stuff on the website. You know, I'm continuing to fight for peer supports, and I'm gonna tell you why I'm fighting for resources for peer supports, because I believe in the peer workforce. I believe in the peer workforce, but I also believe that it's time for us to double down on some accountability. It's time for us to double down on some accountability, and it's time for us to double down on making sure that the peer supports have the support that they need to do their job and continue to take care of their recovery, right? We have to do that because everybody's starting to use peer support and grants and all of this stuff. You know, it's sexy lingo, it's trending, and we got to make sure that we take care of these people, because I'm a people person. I'm a humanizer. That's what I am first. That's who I am first. You dig what I'm saying? First and foremost, I'm a humanizer. Yeah. And I love the peer workforce. I love peer support. I'm gonna tell you why. Because peer support changed my life. You know what I'm saying? There was a time, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna shut up because we had 9 minutes. There was a time when I got out of prison, you know what I'm saying? I was on fire. I was a peer counselor when I was in the prison. So that's where I first found a job that was fulfilling to me. You dig what I'm saying? When I got a promotion from dorm janitor to peer counselor. And so whenever I got that job, it was, in the prison system when I got out, the counselors on the inside, the clinicians on the inside that overseen the peer counselors, they was telling us, like, you know what I'm saying, telling me, especially, like, when you get out, young blood, you need to go out there, go to school, get your degree, become a counselor, and get it in. You got the gift, you got the juice. Shout out to my man Henry Parks. That was the licensed clinical addiction specialist overseeing me. And so when I got out, I tried to become, back then it was called CSAC, and I tried to become a certified substance abuse counselor, and I couldn't because of my criminal background. This was before the North Carolina Second Chance Alliance had done that advocacy to change, those oppressing mannerisms of the occupational licensing boards. And so back then I found out I couldn't become a CSAC for a long period of time, and so I ended up, getting that peer support specialist credential, and it was empowering, and it was life-changing. You know what I'm saying? And it meant a lot to me because it was like my lived experience and my success in recovery was what was being honored to do the work. And that's what we got to honor, for people to do the work, y'all. Like, this ain't no pushover field. You know what I'm saying? Peer support ain't no pushover field. It's not supposed to be seen as just some way to get easy money. Heck no, man. Heck no. Like I ain't even with them calling us paraprofessionals. You know what I'm saying? Some people try to call us paraprofessionals, and I ain't even with that. I'm still getting used to driving this big old Tahoe. Try not to hit nothing. But that's my take on it, y'all. So if you are a stakeholder, or you're somebody that's working closely with the peer workforce, my recommendation to you is to make sure that your staff, the same way you want to make sure they got supervision and stuff like that and professional development, include something in your budget to make sure that they got access to therapy. And it should be culturally sensitive and linguistic therapy, because at this point in time, we're working on ending the stigma in the communities of color, because a lot of us don't trust the system because the system ain't done right by us ever. You know what I'm saying? So yep, there you have it. Therapy for peer support specialists, that being an integral component of your grants and whatever kind of work that it is that you're going to do. Make sure you include that therapy in there for them peer supports, especially if they're working with people that's still using. Especially if they're working with people who are still using. They need to have a therapist. Don't pass go. My name is Change Agent Cooper. I'm not the answer, but I'm for damn sure the alternative.